We're starting again. Zevachim daf lamed zayin. We're starting the Mishnah in the beginning of the parak. All the korbanos that you're supposed to do in mizbeach chitzon, at least putting it twice. The blood has to be put in 2 applications of the mizbeach. But he did it the matana achas. He gave only 1 application of the mizbeach. The din is kippur. It's like a bar. I don't need it to be. I don't need it to be. Even though you require to do shtei matonos, he did 1. You're good. Ubechatos shtei matonos. But Shabbos say bechatos. How many matonos you have to do bechatos? 4. Do it each corner. You have to do you give with a finger. So if he did it instead of 4, he did 2. It's okay. But he did 1. Not okay. We'll see in the Gemara why. Even with chatos, 1 matan is good enough. Lefikach, therefore, therefore, if I could do only 1 out of 2, so if the first one was done karoi, and the second one he did the wrong machshava, doesn't ruin the korban, because I don't need the second one. But the first one he did b'chutz hazman, pigul. Then pigul. Why? Because the first one is a full thing. It's done with pigul. It's pigul. I don't care about the second one. Even though usually we say that if I don't have everything done correctly, it's not pigul. But here everything was done correctly. What was not done correctly? The second zriko. I don't need the second zriko. But in the mizbeach aprimi, they have to give it to all 4 corners, and if you're missing 1 of them, it's gone. It's not good. I think did all of them correctly. So it's possible in Makaris, meaning even though if 1 of them is pigul, if 1 of them is not done correctly, it's going to ruin the pigul because it's not done. You need all 4 to be done in the right way.
You do this the same on the chutz and korban zara?
No, it's a different way of doing it. So the Gemara dashes, how do I know if instead of doing 2 applications, I do 1 is good enough? Because it says you spill it. What do you want to tell me? So tell me, it doesn't say soviv. You have to do it in each corner. You do 1 time. That's what it's teaching you. We need for something else. Okay, the Tanya, the Gemara says, how do I know that we need to have in the end? You have to put matan dam to the yesoid, which meaning that if there is dam in the end, after you do the zriko, there's blood left in the kli, you have to put it on the yesoid in the mizbeach, which is the base. It says das v'chei you learn from here. So when nafka let me die, it says in the pasuk that he does dam achatos l'ker mizbeach, and whatever is nishar midam, whatever is nishar from the blood, you put it on your seder mizbeach. That's what it says. So the shayla is we have to say the word dam. I'm talking about dam. That's what it says. V'nishu da'imot ha'sheita v'learn b'dam. Matu v'learn b'dam. Obviously the word b'dam. This pasuk is talking about chatos. They have to give it in 4 different corners. So then you have to give the leftover into the base. I don't know other bloods that you give the leftovers to the base. It says again, what do you need the word bedam? This teaches you that goes to your site, so you learn from here. So I have a different pasuk. So the word that says, the pasuk that says, is extra. So let's go for this. Now we have regular way of giving blood on the mizbeach is riko. What is riko? Throw it on the mizbeach. What is shvicha? Shvicha is you take the blood and you spill it on the base of the mizbeach. There are korbanos that you can do with shvicha, like Korban Pesach, as the Gemara is going to say in a moment. Korban Pesach, you spill the blood on the bottom of the mizbeach. You don't throw it on the mizbeach. How do I know korban that you need to do is riko? If you did shvicha, you are yoytzeh. That's the puzzle we just mentioned. Masha, all the dam can be done with shvicha. Says the Gemara, No, I'll tell you why. Yes. You right, so Shvicha ad Zrika. So says the Gemara, that's what I need the pasuk for. That's why I don't need it for that. Why not? Sava lo Rabbi Kiva. Do'omar lo Zrika b'chal Shvicha lo Shvicha b'chal Zrika. Rabbi Kiva holds that Zrika and Shvicha are mutually exclusive. Basically, they're not part of each other. The Nan, Bir Birkas HaPesach potar et shel Zevach. Shel Zevach lepotar et HaPesach divrei Rabbi Shmuel. The way Rashi learns that this is exactly the same machlokes. Rabbi Shmuel is telling you that because Pesach is done b'shvicha, and although the Karbanos that are done b'zrika can be done b'shvicha, so that's why they're included, as if considered to be the same. So you did a bracha on Pesach, you might say the bracha on the Zevach. Zevach means the Shlamim, they come with the Pesach. Why? Because they both were done b'shvicha, so they're included with the Pesach. But if you did a bracha on Zevach, which is done b'zrika, you're not pointed the Pesach because there it's done b'shvicha, and that cannot be done b'zrika. So you see that Zevach is part of Pesach. Here Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Kiva, lo yizeh poter zu, lo yizeh poter zu. Kiva says no. Zvika is not b'chal shvicha, shvicha not b'chal zvika. The way Rashi learns is that you said that everything done b'shvicha works. No, Rabbi Kiva does not work. So this pasuk is extra. So can you do a bracha for one to each other? No, because they're not included. So we need something else. Rabbi Shmuel it says in the pasuk over there. So it's lo yisif de koydeshem is domam tizroik al mizbeach ve'eschilbam taktir. So bechor is a carbon that was born kodesh. It says there clearly you put the blood on the mizbeach, you put the fat on the mizbeach. It says the man the bechor shetor matan domim b'imur mizbeach. From here I learned the blood anymore you need to go and bring mizbeach by bechor. Meiser Pesach minayin. What about Meiser Pesach? What's the issue? Meiser that also the 10th one goes to Hashem and Kor Pesach. We don't have psukim to tell you that the blood and the imurim go in the mizbeach. So how do I know that? Talmud lo imar v'dan zochech l'shofech. That's to tell you have to put the blood on the mizbeach. So why need the pasuk for that? So no. So look at basically the time basically lo imar domoy lo ne'emar ela domom chelbo lo ne'emar ela chelbom. The same pasuk of Bechor says you put the domom and chelbom in mizbeach. Why it says lo shurabim? It should say domoy v'chelboy. The reason why it says lo shurabim limit the Bechor ma'aser pesach shtoun matan domin v'imur legavem mizbeach. This teaches you that all three you have to put the blood and the imur in the mizbeach. So that's the source. So we're trying to find a source. Says the Gemara that that's the source and not dan zochech rishon. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Shmuel, I call mafik l'hachi. L'chura, I have here too. Meaning what? That in the beginning he said whoever is governed b'zrika, if you do b'shvicha, as we said before by Pesach and Zevach, it works. That's dan zochech rishon. And now I'm learning something else from Rabbi Shmuel that he says that how do you know the Bechor and Meiser need to be on the Mizbeach? So how does he learn both? Says the Gemara, Trei Tanai, leave Rabbi Shmuel. Stu Tanai, Rabbi Shmuel. Says the Gemara, Bishul Rabbi Shmuel, the Mukim L'Kuli B'Bechor. Bishul according to the Hama that says, well, just one thing we are Trei Tanai. So look at Rashi. Rashi says the man the yolif to the pesach b'shvicho lays the pesach point to the zevach. If you're learning the second drasha which is mentioned that the pesach you have to put in his mizbeach because it says tazorich shafich, so I don't say the pesach is point to the zevach. The Lord Paul gives Shmuel there bekivu. Behind. Can the pesach b'shvicho ma'ikar yolif to lays the mel minei to the mizuyah ksher b'shvicho. I just know the pesach game b'shvicho. I don't know that if you did zrika instead of zrika shvicha, it works. You don't learn it from shvicha, you learn it from zrika. So here comes the big chiddush. Here comes a little bit of a change what we said before. The Gemara before said that the reason why to say that the bracha of Pesach is pointed to Zevach because Pesach is shvicha and Zevach is zrika. And Zrika b'chal shvicha. Now the Gemara says no, because if you hold a Pesach with shvicha, I don't have a pasuk to tell me that the is Zrika b'chal shvicha. If you tell me the Pesach is not b'shvicha, so then Pesach is b'zrika. So Rashi has to shift to tell me that the reason why when you say the bracha on Pesach works for Zevach is not because Zrika b'chal shvicha, that's not the reason, but because Zrika is because Pesach is the Ikar. No chedesh. So Rabbi Shmuel, the Mukla Kuli B'Bchor, according to Rabbi Shmuel, the other Rabbi Shmuel, says this pasuk doesn't teach you about Pesach or Meiser. He's talking about B'Chor. That this is B'Sorim, Loshen Rabim, because even the whole thing is Loshen Rabim. Domom, Chelbom, B'Sorim, all together B'Chor, tell you belongs to the Kohen. According to Rabbi Yossi, it says the reason it says plural. Because we talk about Meiser Pesach, Meiser Pesach Ba'il Machleleu. How can it say in the pasuk B'Sorim Yelecha into the Kohen? It doesn't go to the Kohen by Pesach and Meiser. It goes to the owner. So my B'Sorim Yelecha Echatam V'Echad Ba'amum. What it means B'Sorim Yelecha mean Loshen Rabim by B'Sorim doesn't refer to, when I said Chelbom and Domom refers to Pesach and Meiser. That's the Loshen Rabim. But when it says B'Sorim, it's not referring to Pesach and Meiser. It's referring to B'Chor. So why Loshen Rabim? So I'm always mentioning B'Chor Loshen Rabim because I spoke about different B'Choros. But according to this Mando Amar, that we don't mention Loshen Rabim B'Chor. So why is it B'Chor? Even a Baal Mum goes to a Kohen. So the one that comes down on the base, Limed al B'Chor Baal Mum, Shenitan l'Kohen, Sheloi Matzinu Loi B'Chol Torah Kula. I don't have any other source to tell me that even when the B'Chor is Baal Mum, it still goes to the Kohen. This is the source. Says the Rabbi Shmuel Nafkalei Milecho Yed Seifo, because it says in the end of the pasuk B'Sorim Yelecha. It says again, so I have over here another extra Lecho Yed to tell you that's this. Basically, it says this pasuk is talking about Meiser Pesach. Hein dichtiv loy tifdek koydishem hen craving vein to also craving. So it says hem koydish. But the Torah is not Kodesh. Torah means when you exchange an animal for a different animal. Why? And this works very well. Vitnan, Tmuras Bechor Meiser, and the Tmuro Bechor and Meiser. Hem, meaning the Torah itself, the Pesach or the Por itself. Uvladon, Uvladlodon, Tzev Koloilum, Irei Bechor Meiser. They all have a din of Kedushas Bechor Meiser. You don't mock with it. They have a Kedusha. You have to wait for it to get a blemish, and then you eat it. Vitnan, we have another Mishnah. Or Bishur Shamati Shadmur is Pesach B'Krevu, it was Pesach and a Krevu. I heard that sometimes the Tmura, when you exchange Pesach, it goes Karev. Sometimes it's not. They live Farish, I don't know what's the difference. So Gemara doesn't go into it right now, but Rashi tells you the reason, the difference is, if it was before the carbon and after the carbon. Rashi says, and first look at Rashi, I crave, I ain't crave. The kind of the Tumur Shehim were Achar Pesach, the Tumur was after Pesach finished, crave it was Shlomimi. Shehim according to this model, crave it was Pesach. Because after Pesach it turns to be Shlomim. So here I have Mishnayos that tell me the Tumur of Pesach, the Tumur of Meiser don't work. What's the source? According to what we just said now, that's the source. Rabbi Shmuel, the Mukla B'Chor, according to Rabbi Shmuel, the Apostle refers to B'Chor, Meiser Pesach, the Korban Tumur also Minoli. How do I know the Meiser Pesach is no tomorrow? Where do we know that from? It says the Gemara Meiser Goma Avor Mipchor Tzegzer Shovel. It says Kol Asher Avor Tachas Tashev the Meiser, and it says Avor is called Peter B'Chor. So that's Tzegzer Shovel. Pesach Be'edich Tibo Kesem. Not to learn Im Kesem. The word Im. Rabbi Tzvus Pesach Achar Pesach Shekor Shlomim. Tell you that tomorrow's Pesach after Pesach is Shlomim. Cholav Yipel Kesem Ken. That's in Kesavu, the coming to add something to deduct something, so you have a drosha. The Gemara says we have a drosha. So we shifted a little bit the last call half Amud. The Gemara said once we were building up the sugya, the Gemara said, so what is the pasuk when the pasuk speaks of Bechor? It says Besaron and Damam. Who are you referring to? So one of the Damam says you're referring to Pesach and Meiser, and one of the Damam says you're not referring to Pesach and Meiser. Says the Gemara, so we just, how does the sugya start? How do I know that if I do one zrika it's good enough? Says the Gemara, a whole list of other drushes that I have in the Zevachim Shavif. Nitarim Zrika, Shitarim Shricha, case number one, or that you have to give it to Pesach B'Shvicha, etc. So where are they going to learn the one Zrika is enough? Where is their source? The one matana works. So they want to start looking at Visila. They hold the Visila. The Home Avchatos Shenos Matnachas Kiper V'Alfa Kol Mechatos. They learn from Visila. They learn from Chatos, and we'll see in a moment where Visila learn from Chatos. And by Chatos, one matana is good enough. All Karban is learned from Chatos. Very good, because they all like Visila. So the Chatos Shtei Matanos, you have to give at least two applications. According to B'Shalom, Visila holds one. Says the Gemara, my time at the B'Shalom. What's the reason on B'Shalom? It says Karners. It says three times, because the Rashi brings the three different parashas of Chatos. Each one it says Karners. Two of them it says without a vav, and one of them says with a vav. So B'Shalom dash in the Kri. So Karnois is Loshan Rabbi, means two. So Karners. 2 times 3 is 6. Hareka Chesh. Arbo the mitzvah. 4 of them is the mitzvah to do on each one a application. V'shtayim la'akiv, and 2 are to make it me'akiv. If you didn't do it, it doesn't work. U'v'sila Karners. You read the way it's written. 2 of them without a vav. So without a vav, how do you read it? If you read it without the kri, it's Karnas. I mean, one horn. So Karnos, you have only 4. So 3 are, you should do 3, and 1 is telling you need to do it. Maybe it means that you don't have to do neither of them. Maybe all 4 are not me'akiv. Says the Gemara, kapara b'chti lo yashka. It can't be that you will be able to do kapara without having no zrika. The Gemara understands at least one zrika is mechuyev, is you can't give up. That is zrika, you don't have a carbon. So I used to have at least one mechuyev. The Gemara says that's a svar. So you may not know that from there. One can think, why according to B'Shama you don't say the same thing? She have only 5. You have an average. If you do the Kri, you have 6. Do the Ksiv, you have 4. So you do the average 5. One is if you add one, one's to deduct one, and that's you have 5. 4 is a mitzvah, 1 is ma'akiv. Says the Gemara, we learn from here regarding tefillin. How do I know there needs to be 4 parashas in tefillin or 4 batim? It says the Toitavos without a vav. Toitavos without a vav. Toitavos with a vav, that's 4. Why do we say the same thing? Take the average. Ani krov ani masur is the pasuk l'toitavois is 6. So if you do the ksiv, it's 4. So it should be 5 chamisha bati ba'elam. It should have 5 batim in the tefillin. So what's some of the Rabbi Akiva dom atad bekis shtayim pat be'afrik shtayim. He also gave Rabbi Akiva the toitavois is not because toitavois is loshen yoch because it's without a vav with a vav. He dashes differently. He dashes and says toitavois tat is in one language, a language called katfe, means 2, and pat in the language of Afi means 2. So when you say toitavois, you say 2 different words in 2 different languages. Tat and pat. How much is that? 2 plus 2, 4. So, interesting enough, Tais is asked over here. So say 12, because it says toitavois 3 times. Tat means 2, pat means 2, and you do it triple times, it would be 12. So Tais said your answer is you can't do that because how many parashas of film do you have in the Torah? You have only 4. It can't be 12. The Tais over here says another reason, because the way it works is like you have 3 pasukim. One pasuk is legufay, just to tell you the word itself, and then I say tat, toitavois twice. So in the language of tat, I said two parashas. In the language of pat, I said 2 parashas. I wanted to say, there's a discussion. The Mepharshim say, why do we have words from other languages? Toitavois, we say tat is one language, pat is another language. So you have 2 ways to explain it. One way is the Shlo. Shlo says, really, it's Loshen HaKodesh. But the many words in Loshen HaKodesh were imported to another language. Because Shivim Loshen, what happened? They were scattered all around the world. So some words of Hebrew stayed. It's really words in Hebrew. Not the Shlo words. The Gushas Levi learned the opposite. He says, it's really a different language. But in the Torah, I have the sources of all the languages. So I have a little bit of the language of a different language. This could be the difference between the 2 Pshatim and Tosfos. Because according to the first shot, Tedefos I can't say twice because Tedefos is all in Hebrew. It's all Lashon HaKodesh. That's why we should double it. It's not another language, it's other language took from Lashon HaKodesh. But if you learn that it's other languages, I can say it twice. Okay. Elamata besukas, ani mikor say the same thing besukas. That's how you learn. How do you have to have 4 walls in the sukkah? So the besukas without a vav, besukas without a vav, besukas with a vav. That's 4. So why didn't you say it should be 5? Mikor besukas, the mikor mashra at 6. The Messiah is the ksiv is 4. Chamisha davna so by the should have 5 walls. So what of them? Chesam dalef hasam chad kol kol legufi. 1 pasuk is legufi. Tell you sukkah. Chad v'schach hasoy, and then I have 1 for the schach. So really I have only 3. So I had 5. Took 1 for the gufe, 1 for schach, left with 3, and the halacha which was seen said the third wall can be small. So the way you read it, it's 2 weeks. The way it's written is 70. So it should be the average. Ani Korvani Masaris Aboy trained by the Mesa. It should be 42, which is the middle, right? Because it should be 14 days or 70 days. What's in between? So 70 plus minus 14 is 56. 56 divided into 2 is 28. 28 plus 14 would be 42. Should be 42 days. I'm very tired to buy the Mesa. Shani also kenidos. It says she has to be shvaim like nido. Nido is a week, right? So there it says it has to be a shavua. Rashi says. In other words, it has to. Rashi explaining this. A nido is 1 week. So here I want to double. It's 2 weeks. I'm not doing 42 days, which is a flat too much. It has to be something which has to do with nido. You're either a nido or you double nido. Right? Depends if it's a zach or a kevel. So therefore, the pasuk indicates me you don't say that. But here the word is b'chadash. This idea that when I have a kriying ksiv, I took the average. It's a chiddush over here in this sugya, and that's when we get into these inyanim. We'll stop over here and base the shir continue from here tomorrow night. Have a wonderful night.